Canada is the second largest country in the world by land area. Yet most travelers only see two cities. They fly into Toronto, maybe visit Vancouver, and then leave thinking they have seen Canada. They have not. The real Canada is in the Rocky Mountains of Banff and Jasper, the French-speaking streets of Quebec City, the rugged coastlines of Nova Scotia, and the northern lights dancing over Yukon. In the next 20 minutes, I will walk you through the visa rules for 2026, the real costs across every province, the 5 regions every traveler must consider, the scams to avoid, and the exact itineraries for 7, 10, and 14 days. Save this video. You will come back to it before you book anything. If you have ever dreamed of visiting Canada, hit that like button. It tells me this guide is useful and helps more people find it. Canada has 2 ways to enter. If you hold a passport from the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, or most European countries, you do not need a full visa. You need an electronic travel authorization called ETA. The cost is 7 Canadian dollars, which is about 5 US dollars. The application takes 10 minutes online. You need your passport, an email address, and a credit card. Approval usually comes within minutes, but sometimes it can take up to 72 hours. Never book your flight before you have the approved ETA. It is valid for 5 years or until your passport expires. You can visit multiple times, staying up to 6 months per trip. If you are from India, China, Brazil, the Philippines, or many other countries, you need a visitor visa. You must apply through the official Immigration Canada website. The fee is 100 Canadian dollars, about 75 US dollars. Processing takes 2 to 4 weeks, but during peak season, it can take 2 months. Apply at least 3 months before your trip. You will need to show proof of funds, a return flight, hotel bookings, and sometimes a letter of invitation. The good news is that once approved, the visitor visa is usually valid for 10 years or until your passport expires. You can stay up to 6 months per visit. Subscribe now. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the real cost of Canada, which might surprise you, and the best time to visit every region. Canada is not a cheap destination, but it is more affordable than many people think. A budget traveler spending carefully can get by on 80 to 100 Canadian dollars per day. That means a hostel dorm bed, grocery store meals, and public transport. A mid-range traveler staying in 3-star hotels and eating in restaurants will spend $150 to $250 per day. A luxury traveler with 4-star hotels and fine dining will spend $300 to $500 per day. The biggest cost is accommodation, especially in summer. A hotel room in Banff can cost $300 per night in July. The same room in November costs $100. Your choice of season dramatically affects your budget. Food is moderately priced. A meal at a casual restaurant costs 15 to 25 Canadian dollars. A fast food combo costs $12 to $15. A beer at a pub costs $6 to $9. Groceries are reasonable. A week of food for one person costs $50 to $70 if you cook. Transport within cities is excellent. A single subway or bus ride costs $3 to $4. A day pass costs $10 to $15. Renting a car costs $30 to $70 per day depending on the season. Gas is about $1.60 per liter, which is cheaper than Europe but more expensive than the United States. Domestic flights are expensive. A flight from Toronto to Vancouver costs $200 to $400. Comment budget if you want me to break down exact costs for a 1-week trip to Banff or Toronto. Scam number 1. Airport taxi overcharging. In Toronto and Vancouver, some taxi drivers take long routes to increase the meter. Always ask for the estimated fare before you get in. Even better, use rideshare apps like Uber or Lyft. The price is set before you start. In Montreal, taxis from the airport have a fixed fare to downtown. Know the rate before you travel. Never accept a ride from someone who approaches you inside the terminal. They are not licensed. Only use the official taxi line or a rideshare pickup zone. Scam number 2. Fake tour booking websites for Niagara Falls and the Rocky Mountains. Scammers create websites that look official and charge double. Always book through the official Parks Canada website or trusted platforms like Viator. For Banff, use the official Banff Lake Louise tourism website. For Niagara Falls, use the official Niagara Parks site. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Read recent reviews, not just the overall score. Look for reviews that mention specific guide names. Those are harder to fake. Scam number 3. Fake parking fines in tourist areas. In some cities, scammers put fake tickets on rental cars, asking you to pay online immediately. Real parking tickets come from the city government and give you at least 2 weeks to pay. Never scan a QR code on a parking ticket unless you are certain it is official. If you are unsure, wait and see if a real ticket arrives by mail. Rental car companies will forward any real fines to you. If you are still watching, you care about real information. Hit subscribe. I create honest travel guides every week. Toronto is Canada's largest city. It is diverse, busy, and expensive. The CN Tower is the icon. You can walk along the edge at 356 meters high. The Royal Ontario Museum has dinosaur skeletons and ancient artifacts. The Distillery District is pedestrian only with cafes and galleries. But the real reason most people come to this region is Niagara Falls. The falls are about 90 minutes from Toronto. You can take a boat called the Hornblower right into the mist. You can walk behind the falls through tunnels. The town of Niagara Falls is very touristy, with wax museums and arcades. Skip those. Just see the falls. One day is enough. 2 days, if you also want to visit the wineries in the Niagara region. Montreal feels like a European city in North America. The architecture is old. The food is incredible. You must try poutine, which is fries with cheese curds and gravy. Also, try bagels from St. Viateur, smoked meat from Schwartz's, and maple everything. The Old Port is beautiful. Mount Royal Park gives you a view of the whole city. 3 days is enough for Montreal. Then drive 2.5 hours east to Quebec City. Quebec City is the only walled city north of Mexico. The Old Town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Chateau Frontenac is the most photographed hotel in the world. Walk the cobblestone streets. Try the French-Canadian tourtière meat pie. 2 days is enough for Quebec City. The best months to visit are June, July, August, and September. Winter is very cold, but magical for the winter carnival. Vancouver is where mountains meet the ocean. You can ski in the morning and sail in the afternoon. Stanley Park is a huge green space right next to downtown. The seawall is a walking and biking path with stunning views. Granville Island Market has fresh seafood and local crafts. But the real reason to come to this region is Whistler. Whistler is 2 hours north of Vancouver. It is the largest ski resort in North America. In winter, you ski. In summer, you mountain bike, hike, and ride the peak-to-peak gondola. The village is pedestrian only. 3 days in Vancouver and 3 days in Whistler is a perfect week. Book accommodation months in advance for winter. Summer is also busy, but less expensive. The drive from Vancouver to Whistler on the Sea to Sky Highway is one of the most scenic drives in the world. This is the Canada that belongs on postcards. Turquoise lakes, snow-capped peaks, wildlife everywhere. Banff is the most famous town. Lake Louise is 30 minutes away. The water is bright turquoise from rockflower. You can rent a canoe or just walk the shoreline. Moraine Lake is even more stunning, but the road closes in winter and parking fills by 5 a.m. in summer. The Icefields Parkway between Banff and Jasper is 230 kilometers of nonstop beauty. You will see glaciers, waterfalls, and maybe bears. Jasper is smaller and quieter than Banff. It has darker skies for stargazing. Plan at least 5 days for this region. 4 days for Banff and Lake Louise, 1 day for the drive to Jasper, 2 days in Jasper. Accommodation is expensive and books months ahead. Camping is a cheaper option, but also fills up. The best months are July, August, and September. June is still snowy at higher elevations. Most travelers skip the East Coast. That is a mistake. Nova Scotia has Halifax, a charming port city with seafood and history. Peggy's Cove is a lighthouse on massive granite rocks. The Cabot Trail on Cape Breton Island is a 300-kilometer drive with ocean and mountain views. Prince Edward Island is where Anne of Green Gables was written. The red sand beaches are unique. The seafood, especially lobster and mussels, is the best in Canada. Newfoundland is the most different. The people have a distinct accent. St. John's has colorful row houses. Growmore National Park has fjords and mountains. This region is best visited in July, August, and early September. The weather is unpredictable. Pack layers and rain gear. Allow at least 1 week for Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island together. Newfoundland needs its own week. Flights to Newfoundland from the rest of Canada are expensive. The north is for serious adventurers. Whitehorse in Yukon is the main hub. From here, you can see the northern lights from August to April. You can also drive the Dempster Highway to the Arctic Circle. It is 740 kilometers of gravel road. This is not for rental cars. You need a specialized vehicle. Northwest Territories has Yellowknife, which is one of the best places on Earth to see the aurora. You can fly there from Edmonton or Calgary. This region is expensive. A tour package for Northern Lights viewing costs $150 to $300 per night. Accommodation is limited. Book everything in advance. The best months for Northern Lights are September, October, March, and April. The coldest months of December, January, and February have the most darkness, but temperatures can drop to minus 40 degrees Celsius. Poutine is the most famous Canadian food. Fries with cheese curds and gravy. You will find it everywhere. Maple syrup is Canada's gift to the world. Quebec produces 70% of the global supply. Butter tarts are a sweet pastry with a gooey center. Nanaimo bars are a no-bake dessert from British Columbia with 3 layers. Montreal bagels are smaller, denser, and sweeter than New York bagels. Montreal smoked meat on rye bread is like pastrami, but better. Beaver tails are fried dough shaped like a beaver tail, topped with cinnamon and sugar. You will find them at ski resorts and winter festivals. Seafood on the East Coast is exceptional. Lobster rolls, mussels, and oysters are fresh and affordable. Wild Pacific salmon from British Columbia is also excellent. And do not forget poutine with a side of maple syrup on pancakes for breakfast. Summer from June to August is peak season. Weather is warm, days are long, but prices are highest. and crowds are everywhere. July in Banff is packed. September is the best month for the Rockies. The weather is still good, the crowds have thinned, and the large trees turn golden. October is colder but beautiful for fall colors in Ontario and Quebec. November is the worst month. It is gray, cold, and wet in most of the country, but too early for good skiing. December to February is winter. Skiing in Whistler and Banff is world-class. The northern lights are visible in Yukon and Northwest Territories, but temperatures in the prairies can drop to minus 30 degrees Celsius. March is good for skiing in northern lights. April is messy with melting snow. May is a shoulder month with lower prices and decent weather. For most travelers, the best time is September or May. 7 days itinerary. Fly into Vancouver. Spend 3 days in Vancouver. Drive to Whistler and spend 2 days. Drive back to Vancouver and fly out. This is a perfect introduction to Canada. 10 days itinerary. Fly into Calgary. Drive to Banff. Spend 4 days in Banff and Lake Louise. Drive the Icefields Parkway to Jasper. Spend 2 days in Jasper. Drive back to Calgary and fly out. This is the classic Rockies trip. 14 days itinerary. Fly into Toronto. Spend 3 days in Toronto and Niagara Falls. Fly to Montreal. Spend 3 days in Montreal. Drive to Quebec City. Spend 2 days in Quebec City. Fly to Calgary. Drive to Banff and Jasper for 5 days. Fly out of Calgary. This itinerary covers Eastern and Western Canada in 2 weeks. It is busy, but doable. For a slower trip, choose either east or west. Do not try to do both coasts and the Rockies in 2 weeks. You will be exhausted. Most tourists never visit the Yukon. Tombstone Territorial Park has mountains that rival the Rockies with no crowds. Most tourists skip the Gulf Islands in British Columbia. Salt Spring Island has artists, studios, and farm stands. Most tourists never hear of the Gaspé Peninsula in Quebec. Pierce Rock is a massive limestone formation in the ocean. Most tourists miss the Badlands of Alberta near Drumheller. The Royal Tyrrell Museum has the best dinosaur fossil collection in the world. Most tourists never see the Thousand Islands between Ontario and New York. You can camp on an island. Most tourists skip the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia. It is Canada's wine country with desert-like landscapes. Add these to your itinerary if you have extra time and want to escape the crowds. Travel insurance is mandatory for Canada. A simple emergency room visit without insurance costs $500 to $1,000. A broken leg can cost $30,000. Do not skip insurance. Pack layers. Canadian weather changes quickly. A warm jacket is essential, even in summer for the evenings. Waterproof shoes are useful everywhere. Tipping culture in Canada is similar to the United States. Tip 15 to 20% at restaurants. Tip $5 to $10 per day for hotel housekeeping. Tip 10 to 15% for taxis and tour guides. Tipping is not required, but is expected. Drive on the right side of the road. Speed limits are in kilometers per hour. 100 kilometers per hour is about 62 miles per hour. Cell phone coverage is good in cities, but spotty in the mountains and north. Download offline maps before driving the Icefields Parkway or the Dempster Highway. Now I need your help. Comment the Canadian city or national park you most want to visit. Just one word. I will reply to as many as I can with a specific tip for that place. And share this video with someone who is dreaming of Canada. You could save them hundreds of dollars and hours of research. Thank you for watching. Safe travels. See you in the next video. Subscribe and hit the bell for more honest travel guides every week.